You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Welcome to another edition of Coffee with Graeme on Amateur Sports TV. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. Happy to be back for another installment of this show. And I've been off for a while now. I'm finally back, but the reason I was off was because I was battling a kidney stone issue, got diagnosed with a kidney stone a while back, and I was going through a great amount of pain. I ended up going to the hospital twice, and I honestly thought I was going to die a couple times there. The pain was so bad. I fractured ribs, I've pulled a hip flexor, I screwed up my shoulder. Those all hurt, but nothing was on the level of the kidney stone pain. And after I passed the kidney stone pain, I'm pretty sure I passed it. I might have not, but I've been feeling great, been feeling good. The internet connection here at my house was god awful. We went and upgraded it because I just simply couldn't conduct any interviews with the state my internet connection was in, but it's all upgraded now. It's ready to go for today's edition of Coffee with Graeme, and it's going to be a good one. It's a long one, but it was great being able to talk to my guest today, number 20 of the St. Vital Victorias in the MMJHL, Ryland Nechwediuk. And Ryland is a rookie forward in the MMJHL this season. I had a chance to speak to Ryland today about what it's been like playing in the MMJHL so far this year for the time he had to play in the league before the league got shut down. I also dive into Ryland's time playing for the AA St. Vital Vics from his Minor Peewee years all the way up to his Bantam years. And in Minor Bantam, he ended up winning the Vics MVP for Minor Bantam. And after he was done with the St. Vital Vics program, he ended up moving on to play for the Dakota Lancers in the Winnipeg High School Hockey League. He spent his last 2 seasons playing in the top division of the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, where last season he put up 41 points in 21 games en route to his team making it to the championship series against the St. Paul's Crusaders. And other than playing hockey, Ryland is also a fantastic volleyball player, and he ended up winning back-to-back provincial championships for his school in his grade 10 and grade 11 year. And since he's such a great 2-sport athlete, Ryland ended up winning Male Athlete of the Year for Dakota as a grade 11 for grade 11. So sit back, enjoy today's edition of Coffee with Graeme with number 20 of the St. Vital Victorias, Ryland Nechwediuk. Grab your cup of joe or whatever beverages you guys bring to enjoy these shows. It's going to be a good one, folks, here on Amateur Sports TV, the return of Coffee with Graeme. Ryland, I mean, a crazy weekend of sports. We just had the Super Bowl happen. We saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take down the defending Super Bowl champs and the Kansas City Chiefs 31-9 yesterday. Of course, TB12 continuing his greatness, playing in his 10th Super Bowl yesterday, winning his 7th. And I mean, it was a great moment to watch for sure. Tommy getting his 7th Super Bowl. Did you have a chance to watch that game at all?
Yeah, I watched that with my family. It was, I thought it could have been a better game. Hopefully, Mahomes can score a touchdown next year if he brings his team to the Super Bowl. But yeah, Super Bowl is always fun to watch.
Of course. And were you a fan of the halftime show the weekend? Really, I thought it was one of the best halftime shows that I've watched since watching the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I thought this halftime show was good. I mean, he spent $7 million on it, so you kind of have high expectations going in. Maybe that's why some other people didn't find it as good, but I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, and of course, representing the North here in Canada from Toronto the weekend he is. And yeah, he spent $7 million to put this thing together. And I thought it was pretty entertaining. But yeah, like you said, hopefully Mahomes, if they get back next year, can score a touchdown. And I have a pretty good feeling that there's a pretty good chance that he could be back with the start he's had to his career and how good that Kansas City team is. But we're gonna move away from that and talk about you. And just starting off, I mean, I mentioned it in the intro. You are in your first season in the MMJHL this year, playing for the St. Vital Victorias, and you haven't been able to put up any points in regular season play this season, but you had a pretty impressive preseason. We're gonna start with that. You played 2 games, put up 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points, 2 penalty minutes in exhibition, and just take me back before even getting into exhibition play. How was it like just jumping in a training camp with this team?
It's a good experience coming into a new team, trying to push yourself as hard as you can to get in the lineup and hopefully get signed for the year. But it was a big jump coming from playing against mostly players a year older to now playing against guys that are 4 years older, bigger, stronger. It's just a totally different environment to play in.
Yeah, and of course, a different environment to play in. You, of course, had a chance to play against older competition in your first year and your second year in the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, where you played on Dakota. But just how different of a beast is that compared to playing high school, where you're going up against guys that are maybe 1 year, 2 years older than you, then to playing at this level where you're playing against, like you said, guys that are much older than you.
Well, I'd say the biggest difference is just how strong the opponents are. Like 1 year, maybe it's like 11, 12 is a whole lot different than 17 and 21. So just the strength, they have man strength on you, and you're just little
Yeah.
boy strength.
And yeah, I'm assuming that that took a little bit of time to getting used to that style of play. How do you describe the style of play that is the MMJHL so far, from the little sample size that you have had to play in that league?
It's definitely faster. Like I feel slow out there, and it's way more physical too. Guys are throwing bodies everywhere. There's like a scrum after every whistle, and there was just none of that in high school.
And are you a fan of that chippiness, those scrums in junior hockey? Of course, that's definitely a big difference between that and playing in minor hockey leagues and high school leagues for sure. But are you a fan of that style of play?
Like I think, like yes, like I like it, but not when the guys are 4 years older. It's a little
Right,
scary sometimes,
right.
you know.
Yeah,
But once
yeah.
I get in here, play a full season, I think I'd have no problem getting in there and roughing it up after whistles and stuff.
And despite all the chippiness, going up against guys that are maybe 3 years, 4 years older than you, what do you like from your game in that preseason play where you put up 2 goals, 2 assists, of course, 4 points? You had a lot of success and you made some noise in that preseason.
Yeah, I thought I started off great. I felt the puck was coming to my stick a lot more in the preseason than it ended up coming in the regular season, but I was getting myself into like some good opportunities. I had like tons of shots in those 2 games, so I think it was deserving that I had a couple points and I was helping the team out.
And just being able to score your first goal, even though it was an exhibition, it wasn't the regular season yet, but being able to get a goal, definitely a huge confidence booster for you. Could you take me back to what that goal was like and how you ended up scoring it?
Well, it was in the opposing team's end, obviously, and I was coming up towards the blue line, kind of almost on my way to go change. I took a shot about 2 feet off the ice, bounced off the defenseman in front of the net's skate, and trickled into the bottom corner. So it wasn't like a beauty or anything, but it was pretty exciting to score the first goal of the game, first goal of my young career.
Yeah, for sure. First goal of the game, of course, not the most beautiful goal. And when you said, like, of course, you scored it in the opposition's end of the ice. I think it would have been pretty awesome if you ended up scoring from like the half ice or from your end. It would have been a pretty great moment. But just in terms of exhibition play and regular season play, where have you noticed the biggest difference from just how the play adjusted in the game that you saw?
Um, I'd say I got to work a lot harder in my own end. The D are pinching way more, and that's probably the biggest difference that I've had to make in my game is that I got to be way better in the defensive zone. Even the coaches told me that in order for us to be an offensive team, we got to start in our own end.
And how excited are you to be able to just learn the systems here in St. Vital? Obviously, you just pointed to it that you got to learn how to play a more disciplined defensive game. Just how excited are you to be able to really learn and adjust to these systems for the next foreseeable years here as a St. Vital Vicks?
Yeah, something I'm looking forward to. I've had different coaches almost every year. I've had 2 years with back-to-back coaches, but other than that, it's been new systems every year. So it's going to be nice to get really locked in to a steady system that I can follow and build on year to year.
And you've had success everywhere you've gone with Dakota. Last year, we're going to get into it later on in the show, but you put up a heck of a year last year, of course, as a minor Peewee Vic all the way to a Bantam Vic. You had terrific success there. And now you're starting a new journey with the St. Vital Vics. And you pointed to how you've almost had different coaches every single year. And it seems like from your history, you've been able to really adapt to all the systems that you've played in. Just do you think that's maybe one of the most important parts of your games is just the hockey IQ of being able to go out there and really adjust to any system that is thrown at you?
Yeah, I think my IQ is definitely a strong point in my skill set. I can adapt well, I work well with my teammates, and I think I can really find what the coaches want us to do and get it done. And that's what gets me my success on the ice.
Talking about making the team, a great moment for you being able to make this team as a rookie. Just what was the feeling like knowing that you were able to reach the goal of making this team and furthering your development here in the MMJHL?
It was a great feeling after the practice. Me and another 17-year-old, Tyler Rubney, we both went into the coach's room. He said, "Hey, we're going to offer you to sign." We said, "That's amazing." And then first I had to call my dad right after and tell him, and he was so proud. And it was a great feeling, really pushing hard to make a team, and then to finally do it feels good.
And you hinted at it that you're playing with Tyler Rubini this year. Also, you're playing with players that you played with in the past too on Dakota, like Reese Malmus, Tyler Rubini, of course. I mean, and you're playing with some familiar faces too, like Serge Samard, who's leading the team in goals at this point. Just how easier has that made it really just coming into a culture like this where you're on a team with players that are much older than you and just how it's made it easier for you to transition here with the St. Vital Vicks?
Yeah, for sure. Like Serge leading the team in scoring, it made me feel really good coming into the season, knowing that he was also a high school player who's only actually a year older than me, playing in his second year this year. And he did the same thing that I did last year, and he was able to make that jump. So it really assured me that I could make the jump like he did.
And what's it been like being able to, in the short time that you've had, being able to bond with this team as a whole, being able to bond with these older players on the team?
Well, like I got some rides with them just, to get a little bit closer. The little things like spraying them with a water bottle, that doesn't
Yeah.
do much for you, but it really gets you out there. You make a bond.
Yeah, for sure. And you're going to be able to learn under a head coach and Jeff Mitchell, who's had a good history with this team. And obviously, he saw a lot of potential in you by picking you as a rookie. Just what can you say about Jeff and just his coaching style so far from what you've been able to experience?
He seems like he definitely knows what he's doing, and he sees what we have on our team, and he's ready to build his system around what we've been given this year.
And what do you notice from him compared to your other coaches that you've played for?
Well, I think for him it's a lot different. He's got a bigger range of players, age-wise, on the team than my last coaches, having only usually 2 to 3 ages years before. Now this year he's got 4 ages, or like Jeff has 4 ages compared to the other coaches.
Yeah.
So I think that, yeah, he does a great job bringing the guys together despite the age difference.
Let's move into this regular season that you've had. The team's played 5 games, you've played 4 games, and you haven't been able to have points in any of these games. But it's definitely, I'm assuming, been a great learning experience for you so far, being able to play some regular season hockey in the MMJHL. But what's your spot been in the lineup so far in the season where there were games being played?
Well, after the great preseason output that I had, I started on the first line, and then our line didn't register a point in that first game in our 7-3, I think, loss to Transcona. So Jeff decided that he needed to mix it up, and from there I bounced between the second and third line over the next 3 games.
And what's that been like for you, just starting off on the first line, obviously moving down in the lineup slowly? Just how has that been for your confidence as a player? Obviously, it's kind of tough, but was it something you were expecting to happen with the kind of start that you did have?
Yeah, I came in pretty high, so I'm not sure. Like, I didn't expect myself to keep up the 2 point per game average going into the season, but I also didn't expect to not have a single point after the first 4 games. So it was a little disappointing, but I needed to push through it, and I think with a couple more games, I could have easily tallied a couple more points.
And with you, if the season does ever return, I hope it does return, because I read the case update today here in Manitoba. This is for Monday here. It's 53 new cases announced. So it seems like we're going down day by day from what I've seen. Hopefully we can get hockey back. But if the season does return, just what are you looking to really focus on your game the most here to really improve yourself as a player at this level?
Well, I've been working out and going to the ODR lots, so I feel like if the season were to start up even tomorrow, I would be in great shape to get back in there and not miss a beat from where I left off in October.
And just speak about the leadership group. Of course, a captain and Ben Coppinger, who is a 2000 born player, Noah Couch and Jesse Gibbons are the assistants. They're both 99 born players. Just can you talk about the leadership that they brought to this team so far this year?
Yeah, Coppinger actually reached out to me after like the first tryout, made me feel great about myself. He said he likes the way I'm looking out there, and hopefully I can make the team. So that was like great. Made me feel so good. And then the other guys are just great locker room guys. Like, I haven't talked to them much, but I can talk to them with ease, and they seem like great guys.
And knowing that a guy like Ben is eligible to return for his final season next year, and him already giving you some kind words early on in the season, obviously you guys are going to have a lot more time to bond. Hopefully next season, if we get back to some normal lifestyle here in the world, especially here in Manitoba. But how excited are you to be able to really get to know Ben and to really learn under him?
Yeah, he seems like a cool dude, and I think he can be a real mentor to me over my what would have been 2 years, but now most likely only going to be about a year. I think he can really help me improve my game and bring it up to a level that his is at.
And I had a chance to kind of look at the number of players you guys have on the team this year. You guys have 24 players, 15 forwards, 7 defensemen, and 2 goaltenders. And 7 of those players are 1999 born players, and obviously there's some other vets on the team, like in the 2000 born range, and so on, so on. But just what's it been like getting to not only learn from guys like Ben, Noah, Jesse, but all the other vets here on the team?
Yeah, they're older, obviously, so it's you kind of look up to them as a younger guy. So it's nice to be able to talk to them and understand like what they're trying to tell you if you don't understand something that the coach is saying.
And I had a chance to break it down here. It seems like you guys are going to have 17 eligible returning players come next year. And it seems like there's going to be a lot of great talent coming into next year's roster, as well as you guys are probably going to add a lot of other pieces. There's some players that you've had a chance to play against in the past that are probably going to make the jump to make this team next year. How excited are you for the future of the St. Vitalvics team?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a definitely gonna be have a good 4 seasons with the team. Jeff does a great job recruiting because he had talked to a handful of guys on our Dakota team last year about signing AP cards, getting us in the loop, hopefully having us try out this year. So he does a great job recruiting guys. So I think we should have no problem staying at the top of the league over the next couple of years.
And yeah, the St. Vitalvics team had a great season last year, and you guys have only played 5 games this year. You guys are 2-3, fifth in goals for, sixth in goals against, eighth in power play percentage, seventh in penalty kill percentage. So things haven't been going according to plan so far this season, but you guys didn't get to play a lot of games. So just come playoff time, come if the season does return to play at some point. Hopefully it does, fingers crossed. But uh, I'm just, I hope that the season comes back to play. But do you think that this team, with all the talent that it does have on paper, has a chance to turn it around and to improve those numbers that I just listed?
Yeah, for sure. This is if we get back to play, it's going to be a whole different team than who played those first 5 games because we were not showing our like potential in those games. I don't think we were playing nearly as good as we could have played.
Yeah, and of course, like early in the season, only 5 games played on the schedule. There's going to be some. It's never going to be perfect near the start, and if it is perfect near the start, it usually doesn't happen. There's usually a lot of strong play, but there's always things to work on. Just those special team numbers kind of stand out to me. What do you think this team needs to do to improve in the special team areas like power play and penalty kill?
Well, I think our power play just wasn't we couldn't even get set up in those couple of games. So I think just really getting working on that in practice. If we come back here, the power play for sure can improve. And then penalty kills just all about positioning and structure. So if we
Yeah.
can work on that too, it has to improve.
Despite not getting a point, despite you getting moved down the lineup because you haven't had the greatest start to your season, but it's all about those growing pains, right? But what have you really noticed in your game out of the positives that you have found in your game that you have liked from your game this season?
Well, I think I was moving the puck well, like getting out of the zone, working in the zone. I wasn't necessarily the last 2 people to touch the puck before the goals, but I was on for a handful of goals for sure. I just wasn't able to get on the score sheet. So I think offensively I was doing all right. Maybe could have put one in myself, but that was going to come later in the season.
Welcome back to Coffee with Graham on Amateur Sports TV. If you joined us in the first part of this interview, I was talking to number 20 of the St. Vital Victorias from the MMJHL, Ryland Nechwediuk, just about how the MMJHL has been for him so far this season, and we're hoping at some point that hockey does come back for not just the MMJHL, but all leagues here in Manitoba. And uh, this season hasn't been the first time that Ryland has worn a St. Vital Vics jersey. He played for the Double A Vics back in Minor Peewee all the way up to Bantam in his hockey career, and we're going to move into that now. And for you, Rylan, I mean, you had a pretty successful career individually with the St. Vital Victorias in the Double A League, starting with Minor Peewee. And just when you first became a Vic, can you talk about just what type of player you were back then?
Well, I don't think I was necessarily the scorer I would call myself nowadays. I was more of the hardworking playmaker almost. And coming from being on a team that we didn't score very many goals, it was kind of hard to be a goal scorer. But I think I was really a hardworking playmaker on that team.
And just you coming in as a hardworking player, how long did it take for you to really find your skill game throughout those years?
Um, I think it developed definitely over my years as a Vic. First year, I probably scored the least amount of goals, and the last year was definitely my best year for goals. So I think I slowly kind of grew into more of a scoring hard worker and not as much setting up stuff, but more being the one that's finishing it.
And you won the team's MVP back in minor bantam. So obviously at that time, everything was kind of coming together for you. But just what went into you winning the MVP that season? Can you take us back to that time?
It was all motivation from being cut from AAA. I was hoping to make it, obviously. I was cut, and I was just ready to go on a tear and prove that I could be a AAA player that got cut and is now playing in Double A. So that was my motivation for what I ended up doing in that MVP season.
And do you think that as devastating as it was getting cut from a team that you wanted to make, trying to move up a level to ending up back with the St. Vital Victorias, do you feel like getting cut from that AAA team that you were trying to make, it was the Winnipeg Warriors, I'm guessing, because that's the team in your catchment area?
Yeah.
Yeah, for you to be able to not get what you wanted, for you to be as motivated as you are, kind of playing with a chip on your shoulder in your MVP season, do you think that maybe getting cut from AAA might have been the best thing to happen to you in your hockey career looking back at it?
Yeah, it was a change for sure. Thinking I was gonna play on this high level team, and then being cut. Now I'm that guy. From being probably would have been a fourth, low bottom, barely no shifts in the last 5 minutes playing with the Warriors, to now being that guy that plays the last 2 minutes because we're down a goal. I think it was great for my skill development, being able to really be that guy that the team could rely on.
And in what parts did you really see your game develop in that MVP season?
I was scoring on probably all of my chances. It was like insane. I don't know. I didn't know I could be that well of or develop into that good of a scorer, but I did somehow, and it carried into my next couple of years in hockey and what I am now.
And you had individual success that year. You guys had a heck of a season in your next year playing for the Bantam Vics. I remember that year because I was playing for the Midget Vics in my second year of Midget Double A, and I remember you guys were making a lot of noise in that Bantam season.
It was basically the same team we had the year before, so I'd say that helped us, like crazy amount of chemistry we had going into that season, and we were flying right out of the gates. We ended up finishing first in the league. Unfortunate loss in the semifinals though, but I think that was probably one of the best teams I've ever played on.
For you guys to be able to do what you guys did that season, obviously, in Bantam, not getting the result you wanted in the end, do you think that it was that experience that really drove you guys to be the type of team that you guys were having all that experience?
Yeah, the experience definitely helped. I don't think that our I don't think that we deserved to lose that series. It was just that they got some lucky bounces and we weren't getting any bounces. So it resulted in us getting knocked out.
And the team was amazing. You guys didn't get the result you wanted in the end, and obviously it must have been an unlucky series, like you did say. But you guys, I remember hearing that you guys had a crazy amount of practices, workouts, and tournaments. Can you speak about how that really helped your guys' development as a team, being able to go through all that, just practicing consistently, playing in a bunch of tournaments, and just the workouts off ice as well?
Yeah, our coach did a great job working our team throughout the season. We would do workouts before practices and all that stuff to really make sure we were getting to the top of our game.
And Scott Wiley was your head coach that year. You guys had great success under him, of course. But could you just speak about the type of coach that Scott was?
Yeah, sure. He was really nice to all of our players, and he really pushed every single one of us to do our best when we were out there. And he always had a system for every situation. So I think once the guys bought into those systems, it really helped us to our success.
And you think learning from a coach like that, that had a bunch of different systems for a bunch of different situations, and you having a pretty strong hockey IQ by nature, do you think that him putting you guys in those situations, and you especially, really helped the development of your game in terms of hockey IQ?
Yeah, for sure. Like he would say, "Okay, we're gonna trap the last 2 minutes," and I would have no problem knowing where I needed to be, all that stuff. Whereas some other guys might have some troubles flipping between just chasing on the offense to now setting up for a hard trap. So I think it really benefited my game being able to play under a well structured system.
And were you the captain of the team that season?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, the captain, of course, big Captain Ryland coming out and performing at a very high level in that season, as well as his team. Just what was that experience like, being a captain at that time?
It was good. Like everyone listens to you. You feel a little bit of power, but not as
Yeah,
much as you would have felt if I was captain on as a grade 12 kid playing with 10s and 11s. It's not
yeah.
really the same when it's all your same age, but it was a great feeling to know that I was the leader of that team.
And what type of leader would you say you were? Were you more of that leading by example on the ice type of guy, or more of that more of a combination of the two, where you do lead on ice with your exceptional play, but also also get the boys fired up in the dressing room?
Yeah, I think I was more of the lead by example, showing guys hard work and all that stuff. Whereas the assistants that year were really the guys that would pump everyone up before games.
Yeah. And of course, being able to have a leadership group like that, do you think having that balance of you leading by example on the ice, working hard, and with those guys getting the boys fired up in the dressing room, really helped you guys in a lot of ways that season?
Yeah, that combination of leading by example, leading by voice, and motivation, it definitely helped us that season.
And just, you spent 4 years with the VIX program, from minor Peewee to Bantam. You spent time with those teams from grade 6 all the way to grade 9. Just what are your biggest takeaways from those 4 years, looking back at it now?
Yeah, those were great years for development. The coaches were great every year, and I had a lot of fun playing for the VIX organization over those years.
And last question before we head into break and move on to something else. Obviously, you guys went on a lot of tournaments, spent a lot of time together throughout those 4 years. Obviously, you played with some different groups of players, but like you said, from minor bantam to bantam, you guys basically virtually had the same team. Just what are some of your favorite memories, or one favorite memory you have from your time as a St. Vital Victoria in the AA leagues?
Well, I'd say definitely my most exciting memory would be my first ever game of Minor Peewee. I actually scored a hat trick.
Wow.
So that was
Wow.
I thought I was a stud after that.
Yeah.
First year double A,
Yeah.
scored a hat trick. I thought I was the best player ever. And I think
Yeah.
I finished the 24 game season with maybe 5 goals. I didn't score much after that, but it was a crazy feeling to score a hat trick in your first double A game.
Yeah, for sure. And if I were you at such a young age, playing your first ever game in Double A, scoring a hat trick, I think I'd let that go to my head too. Not gonna lie around. That's awesome stuff for sure. A crazy and an unforgettable moment in your hockey career when it's all said and done. Would you say that maybe that memory might be near the top of your favorite memories in hockey as a whole?
Yes, that would definitely be something I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Right on. That's awesome. Well, we're gonna go to our second commercial break here in the show, and we're gonna move away from the big stuff. And I'm gonna talk to Rylan about his 2-year career with the Dakota Lancers in the Winnipeg High School Hockey League. So stick with us. I'll be right back with Ryland Nechwediuk in this edition of Coffee with Graham on Amateur Sports TV. But first, a word from one of our lovely sponsors.
At Super 8 Winnipeg West, we have your comfort in mind, with free Wi-Fi and free daily Superstart breakfast. We also have guest laundry facilities, a state-of-the-art fitness center, and a jetted hot tub. Sleep well in a spacious guest room equipped with plush new bedding, a 50-inch flat-screen HD TV, microwave, mini refrigerator, and Keurig coffee maker. Or book a suite with a kitchen, ideal for extended stays. Super 8 Winnipeg West, located just inside the perimeter on Portage Avenue.
Back here with Ryland Nechwediuk, number 20 of the St. Vital Junior Victorias in the MMJHL. If you guys have been sitting down and watching the show today from wherever you're watching it, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, or on our website at www.amateursports.tv, it's been a lot of fun for me getting to talk to Ryland today. And I knew he was a heck of a hockey player. I knew that coming in. I knew that he had a great career in Double A with the St. Vital Vics, and I had a chance to really follow along on paper with what he's been able to do with the Dakota Lancers in his last 2 seasons of hockey in the Winnipeg High School Hockey League. And we're going to start off with talking about your grade tenure in 2018-19, where you ended up making the jump from Double A, where you were playing with the St. Vital Victorias at Bantam, to playing with this Dakota Lancers team. And just why did you decide, first off, to join this high school team when you could have taken your talents to maybe provincial AAA or even city AAA?
I think it was just the fact that I wanted to also participate in other school sports. Being a multi-sport athlete, I figured that it was best for myself to be able to play hockey for the school, which would allow me to also play volleyball for the school. So I think that was my biggest reason to play high school hockey.
And we're actually going to move into volleyball because, yeah, you're a two-sport athlete, and you had a chance to not only win one provincial title with the volleyball team there, but back-to-back provincial titles in your grade 10 and 11 years. So just what was that like, being part of a winning culture that the volleyball program at Dakota built up?
Yeah, our coach, Mr. Hudson, he pushed us right from the first day of school when we had tryouts starting. It was a nonstop grind every season, and it was just great to be a part of that volleyball lifestyle. If you show up to the gym every day, you work hard, and you see the results. And it was like the best feeling to be rewarded with a provincial title after countless hours that we've put into the sport.
Yeah, putting in countless hours, seeing that pay off. And for you in that grade tenure, not only were you a provincial champion, but you were named an all-star team. You were named to the all-star team as you were the team's starting setter in that year as well. So just what was that like for you to really accomplish what you did in that year, not only winning a provincial championship, but making the all-star team as well?
Yeah, I think that without we also had the MVP, and then another one of our middles was also an all-star. But I think that without those, I don't know if without those guys being able to set them the variety that I had, I think that really helped me become a better setter, being able to trick the defense and knowing that no matter where I put the ball, we had a great chance to get a kill off of it.
And just talking about the experiences of really going out and competing against the best teams, best school teams in the province to winning this championship, just what were those experiences like for you being able to get to where you guys were? I mean, I'm sure it was a pretty tough road for you guys trying to get there.
Yeah, for sure. It was a grind. Volleyball, just like hockey, you have your injuries, you have your adversity, and it's just a total roller coaster. And you just hope that it all comes together for the finals, which we were lucky to have it do for those 2 seasons, winning the championship.
And can you talk about just the friendships being made in high school sports? You're with these guys every day, you're in classes with a lot of these guys, and to be able to come together and do something special like this, just talk about the aspect of getting to do it with the group of guys that really you've gotten to know throughout your life in elementary as well as in high school, being able to win a championship with those group of guys.
Yeah, you make relationships that you're always going to remember them. Playing with the same guys every year of high school as it goes on, you just create like a unbreakable bond between you guys, especially after winning as much as we did. It's just you feel so connected to those guys because like you completed something so big for us that like it's just something you'll never forget.
What can you take away from the individual experiences for yourself of just being surrounded in a championship culture?
Yeah, like winning's always fun, and we didn't do it. We didn't actually win a single tournament last year when I was in grade 11. We didn't win a single tournament. Actually, oh no, we did. I just wasn't there. I was actually in a hockey tournament that weekend.
Yeah, yeah,
But we weren't the number one team going into provincials. And then for us to come up and just upset everybody, it's winning is always fun. And you
yeah,
can't deny that. But winning coming from being a low point and completing something, it just
right.
great feeling.
Yeah, for sure. And would you say that maybe that second championship with you guys being the underdogs, being a team that maybe wasn't even supposed to get there and being able to accomplish that, do you think that maybe that second season when you guys won, of course, you barely played because you obviously had you were more committed to hockey in that second season, but just to be able to win from where you guys started going in to making it all the way to the top of the mountain, would you say that maybe that second championship was even more special?
Yeah, for sure. It was for I would say that in my grade 10 season in JV, there was probably 2 teams. It was us and Selkirk, every tournament final, provincial final, and we just beat them in the most important time. But for last year in grade 11, there was 4, 5 top teams that were all potentially going to win it all. And so it was just a way steeper mountain to climb to get to that top spot.
We're going to move back into hockey here, just moving into your first season, uh, coming into a team where you're a rookie, you obviously have a resume coming in, but you knew that you had to work for your spot, your minutes in the lineup. Just what was your mindset going into that first season with the Dakota Lancers hockey team?
Going into that first year, I was coming off of a great season playing for the AA Victorias in my grade 9 year, but going into grade 10, I just wanted to be solidify myself as a hardworking, really dedicated to the sport player that my coach could see improvement, and so that would allow me to move up the lineup, knowing that I'm going to play with them for the next couple of years, hopefully.
Coming in, you had a chance to play under a coach in Ray Augustino, and Ray's been able to build up a very strong hockey program with the Dakota Lancers, especially with you guys getting to the championship last year as an underdog, going up against St. Paul's. We're going to move into that a bit later, but what's it been like, really getting to be able to play under Ray?
Well, I think Ray's biggest thing about him is that he really brought the guys together. He, over my 2 years, he made this team of just a bunch of guys who don't really know each other, turned us into almost a brotherhood of guys. We were hanging out outside of school, in school, pizza parties at lunch. Just he really brought us together, and I think that built the chemistry that showed in those games.
And what was your first conversation like with Coach Ray Augustino coming in as a rookie? Obviously, he saw a lot of great potential in you with you making this team as a grade 10. Just talk about could you remember the first conversation you had with him?
Yeah, the first conversation actually came after the rookie tournament in grade 9. He came up to me and said, you going to play high school next year? And I'm like, I'm still thinking about it. And then he saw that on my Vicks jacket I was wearing number 11. So then he had to throw in the little, yeah, well, 11's graduating this year, so it'll be your number if you want it. So it was a
Of
pretty
course.
memorable conversation.
Yeah, and I remember when I was in my last year of playing minor hockey, when I had a choice to play either Vicks or play for my school, College Belleville. I remember the head coach, Scott Cosson, uh, emailed me and said, congratulated me on the good year I had the year before with the Vicks, and said that he had a history of playing for that team back in his day. And my cousin played for the College Belleville Barracudas and wore number 91, and that was actually the number that I wanted to take. And he threw in the same thing as Ray did, saying that, hey, we got a number 91 fresh and waiting for you. So I definitely know those are one of the tactics that these high school coaches use for sure. It's funny that you kind of had that same experience, but just you were a hardworking player coming in. You established yourself as a goal scorer and all around player in your final 2 seasons with the Victorias. But what would you say your role was on that team in your first year? Would you say it was more of that hardworking player?
Yeah, for sure. I'm not sure if I cracked top 2 lines almost all season. Maybe a little bit of second line, but definitely not the first line. I was in and out with injuries due to playing volleyball and hockey at the same time. My body just really couldn't take it that first year. And I don't think I really got to play to my full potential in that first year.
Yeah. And do you think that's why you kind of took more of a focus to just focusing on hockey more than focusing on volleyball in that second year?
Yeah, I knew my hockey. It was basically like a teeter totter from JV volleyball to varsity. My role was going to go down on the team, and moving up as into a grade 11 role on the hockey team, it was going to be going up. So I just had to make the decision that I was going to be needed more on the hockey team than the volleyball team.
And was it a tough decision for you to make that decision of focusing more on hockey than volleyball, knowing that you guys had such a great year in your grade 10 year in volleyball?
Yeah, it was really tough. No, especially before COVID, I was obviously expecting to be the setter coming into my grade 12 season on the volleyball team. So I think it was just a big sacrifice not going as hard with volleyball as I was with hockey that season. Maybe not being able to get back up to that championship status in grade 12.
And let's move into that first season with Dakota. You guys had a very good record, 12 wins, 8 losses, 3 overtime wins, 1 shootout loss, and you put up 16 points in 19 games. So you put up pretty solid point production from where you were playing in the lineup that season. Of course, you said that you never cracked the first line, but you played some second line minutes at times. But just talking about the players that you guys did have that year, you guys had 11 returning players, 5 seniors, 6 grade 11s, 2 players in Ben Zander and Levi Colleander who put up 20-plus points the season before. And they also were the team's 2 top goal scorers. And you guys had 9 rookies that year, 1 senior, 2 grade 11s and 6 grade 10s. Just talk about what it was like back then getting to really bond with the vets of that team.
Yeah, there was a huge group of us grade 10, and new 11s coming into that season. So it was a big change for us, but I think having almost half the team being rookies, I think it just allowed us to fit right in, knowing that there was as many of us as there was of the vets.
Yeah. And did that create kind of an interesting relationship between the team, knowing that there were 11 vets on the team, but also 9 rookies? I mean, what was the bonding like as a team?
Yeah, there was no locker room issues, and it was just a great environment to be on for my first year of high school.
And just moving back to that year, you put up 16 points in 19 games. And of course, getting used to playing against players that were 1 year, 2 years older than you. We talked about how it was like with the Vic so far this year. But just moving back into high school, it was obviously a first for you getting to play with older competition in hockey. What did you notice about the style of game playing against older players in that first year?
I think I had to adjust my game, mostly coming from being the number 1 guy scoring a lot of goals. I had to adjust definitely to the guys being bigger than I was and just faster pace than what I was used to.
And how would you say you developed throughout that season?
I thought my development was good. Probably could have been better if I wasn't battling injuries most of the season. But I think it definitely helped me into where I was in that grade 11 season come the start.
And obviously, a tough season battling injuries. I know that I can relate to how tough it is battling injuries because I fractured like 3 ribs when I was 15. Pulled some muscles in that area in the next season, pulled a hip flexor, pulled those muscles again, and screwed up my shoulders. So I've been through the ringer, but it's all about that mental game. And how would you say that you dealt with those injuries mentally and you being able to rehab those injuries to getting back to yourself?
Yeah, well, you talk about mentally, and one of them was a concussion that had me out for 2 weeks. But
Man, yeah.
yeah, but I thought I bounced back fine once I was able to get back in the lineup and play at 100% again. I didn't think it really phased me about missing a bunch of games in like the middle of the season. And
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was all right mentally coming back in.
Talk about the playoffs. You guys had a pretty decent regular season, but you guys ended up losing in the first round. High school hockey in the playoffs is a lot different than the regular season, just like playoff hockey is different in a lot of leagues. But what would you say was maybe the biggest difference of playoff hockey in high school compared to regular season in high school?
I would say the fans. There was minimal fans coming to our regular season games, and then you go to playoffs, and we had to play at Keith Bodley in our first game against the Huskies, and they had that thing packed. It was super loud. You make a mistake, you were hearing from it from their whole section of fans, and it was just super loud environment to play in.
And playing in a loud environment like that, it obviously, I'm assuming that when you guys had a home game in the playoffs, your fans were coming out in pretty big numbers. But Have you found that throughout your time playing in high school that that's something that you really enjoy, playing in front of big crowds like that come playoff time?
Yeah, for sure. Like playing in front of your school, I don't know if there's something better than that because when you were winning, like we did in grade 11, you come back to school, the teachers are congratulating you. That's just a really good feeling to have your school behind you in a game of importance like playoffs.
Yeah. And it really gets the boys fired up, I'm assuming, and just the level of pride is probably through the roof for you guys when you are able to win, getting those congratulations, and yeah, it's definitely great to be able to hear that praise for sure. If I'm in your shoes, I'm sure that I'm just kind of soaking it all in, really taking all the praise in for sure. And were you guys able to compete in provincials in that first season?
We did not. No, we
Dang.
being the sixth seed, we just didn't quite make it into a wild card spot.
I see. But yeah, so your season did end after obviously going out in that first round of the playoffs. Just after just being able to take in the loss and just reflect on the season, what were the things that you reflected on individually?
Um, I think that for the most part, I reflected on my ability to put up points. I wasn't really too happy with the output I had in that season, so that was really what I was trying to work towards coming into my second season with Dakota.
And you had a chance to play in the rookie tournament after that year, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the rookie tournament. It's a heck of a tournament to play in because you have a chance to go up against the school's best players that maybe chose provincial AAA or just AAA over high school. Usually come to play in this tournament, and you're going up against the very best that these schools have to offer. Just what have your experiences been like from playing in the rookie tournaments?
Well, I would say that my grade 10 year, it was second time being in the rookie tournament, I felt almost as if I had that same role as I did in my Bantam year of playing Vix. I would say I was the leader on that team, having grade 10s and grade 9s, and being a grade 10, having already played on the high school team. I really felt myself in a leadership role in that year.
And how did that go into your development of being able to get those opportunities playing against these schools' very best players and just just how it was for your development playing in these tournaments?
Yeah, I think it was great to be able to come out of a season playing against older competition, and then be able to play against your own competition, even for 3 games, but still crazy speed and high levels. So it's just a lot different going from 2 years older to now playing with your age and a year younger.
Well, we're going to get into your second season where you guys did end up making it all the way to the finals. Did they win it? Did they not? We'll find out a bit later on in the next segment of Coffee with Graham's Tuesday episode here on Amateur Sports TV. I've been joined by Ryland Nechwediuk, number 20 of the St. Vital Junior Victorias in the MMJHL here on this edition of the show. But first, we're going to hear from one of our lovely sponsors once again in today's episode.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Welcome back to this edition of Coffee with Graeme on Amateur Sports TV. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth, joined by Ryland Nechwediuk, number 20 of the St. Vital Junior Victorias in the MMJHL. And I've been talking to Ryland throughout this episode about just what it's been like playing in the MMJ this season, what his career with the Vics was like for the minor Peewee years all the way up to the Bantam years. We talked about his first season with the Dakota Lancers Hockey Team last year, as well as talking about just his time playing volleyball for that school, where he ended up winning back-to-back provincial championships from grade 10 to grade 11. And now we're going to dive into your second season with Dakota. You have a year under your belt. You're coming off your second rookie tournament from the season before, and I'm sure there was a lot of motivation for you going into your second season with this Dakota hockey team, and you guys had a heck of a season. But how did it really start out for yourself before even getting to touch the ice in that season in terms of just the work you put in off the ice?
Yeah, I think that was I put in lots of work, obviously, during the summer to get myself ready for that season, and I think it paid off right from the beginning. And yeah, like our team, I wouldn't say over the start of the season our team was kind of at a low, but right near Christmas time we started picking it up, and it ended with a great season.
Yeah, and such a big thing, I think, of a successful hockey player now is just the work they do put in the off season. When did you start really putting an emphasis on your work in the off season before the season would even start?
I started putting in work in the off season before my first year of AAA. So that was a big year. I was decided that I needed to work hard in the off season to hopefully make that team. And yeah, I just start working out in the summer and found lots of improvement doing that.
And what were the things that you really focused on improving in the offseason last year? Because you put up a heck of a season, 41 points in 21 games. And obviously, a lot of that had to do with the work you put in to really prepare yourself for the year.
Yeah, I would mostly work on legs, foot speed, quickness, something that I felt I really lacked in that first season, being able to be the first one to the puck all the time, and then also working a bit on just my overall upper body strength to be able to shoot harder and work harder, win more battles in the corner.
Let's talk about the roster you guys had last year. You guys had 19 players and a lot of returning players coming in with 13, 8 seniors. You were one of the 5 grade 11s. Also, talking about your rookies, you had 1 senior, 3 grade 11s, and 1 grade 9. Loads of talent, loads of potential for you guys to be able to go far in the playoffs when the season started. How confident were you guys feeling in the group of guys that you guys had with the returning players and the guys that you guys brought in?
Yeah, for sure. Seeing the returning players, it was just like having a full season playing with the same guys, and then to add more guys who we were already buddies with them, and now we're just adding more guys. It was like basically playing with a whole friend group on the team, and we would get together every weekend, almost every weekend, and go to the ODR and all that stuff. We were just super connected as a group that season, and I think that's what really helped our success.
Yeah, and it wasn't always perfect last year. You guys really did find your stride near the end of the season, but you guys went 11-9, 2 overtime wins, 1 OT loss, and 1 shootout loss. Ended up finishing as the 7th ranked team in the A-Div and finishing in that final A-Div Division 1 playoff spot, I guess, because like it split up into 2 different playoffs. There was the bottom half of A-Div that played in a separate div, and the top half, you guys made that playoff bracket, and you guys 93 goals for, tied second in the league, but 75 goals against, which was 6th most given up. So would you say if there was one weakness in your team, maybe it was the on the defensive side of things.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was specifically our defense or the goalies. I would
Right,
just say our team was way more focused on putting the pucks in than keeping them out of our own net.
right.
And that definitely hurt us in those probably the first couple months of the season. We were giving up 5 and 6 goals to teams who shouldn't be scoring that many.
Right. It's because, like you said, you guys were put more of a focus on being that aggressive team and offense over defense. But do you find as the season went along, just looking at the results you guys did have, that kind of balanced itself out as the season did go along?
Yeah, for sure. We were, I think the biggest change to our defensive mindset was our coach moving a grade 12 forward in Reese Malmus, who had, I think he was up there for goals in his grade 11 season, hadn't scored yet in all of grade 12. And coach decided he was going to put him back on defense. And he ended up being our best defenseman. And now he's playing with me in major
Yeah.
junior.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I was a bit curious why he is a defenseman now because he was listed as a forward, but that makes a lot of sense. Do you think that's maybe probably the most important move that Ray made for you guys to find more success, more balance in the lineup?
Yeah, I think that was the only reason that we were even a considerably good team going into the playoffs was that change of Malmus to defense, and then he moved Bradle up to forward, who has great speed and really just presses on the other team's defensemen.
And would you say that's probably one of the biggest strengths of Rays, being able to put these players in the right spots to really succeed at their very best?
Yeah, I would say that would be one of his strengths for sure. Seeing Malmus struggling, and instead of just trying to stay on his back about you don't need to score, just like try and do other things, just saying completely get rid of it. You're okay playing defense. I'm going to move him back. And Malmus was more than happy to play defense. So it was a great change he made.
Talking about you ended up finishing second in points in A-Div, led the Div in goals, and you had 21 games played, 23 goals, 18 assists, 41 points. I mean, a heck of a season for you. Obviously, the work you put in before the season really did pay off and show up on the scoreboard. And, you didn't even play a full season either. You missed the first 3 games of the season. Just for you to be able to come back and put up the type of production you did and be a more consistent player and elevating your game, just what do you think really went into that? Would you say it was mostly due to the work you put into the season before even playing a game, or would you say that maybe it was just you being in the league, having a year under your belt, and really showing that you had that experience?
Yeah, I would say that it would be a mixture of experience and also who Coach Augustino put me on a line with. He put me on a line with Rubini, who's also a great scorer, and Xander, who works. He's the hardest working guy I've probably ever played with. So I think that really allowed us to be able to put up the points that I was able to do that season.
Yeah, obviously being put in a great situation, the experience paired with the work you put in the off season led for a career year for you, a very impressive year. And just, I'm gonna read some of these stats of some of the key moments that I saw on the score sheet. You went on a 3-game point streak after a shootout loss, had a 4-point night against Sturgeon Heights on November 21st, a hat trick versus Shaftesbury on December 13th, hat trick against Bruns on January 16th, another hat trick against Oak Park on January 29th, and a 9-game point streak from January 14th to February 13th. So a guy that could come out and score in bunches in games, a guy that was consistent. I mean, did you envision yourself having that type of season when, before the puck even dropped on the first game that you played?
Yeah, going into that season, obviously didn't expect it to go that crazy on the scoreboard. But I came in there thinking that I needed to score definitely more than I had the year before. And I think my goal was around, I think I said I was going to score 10 or 15 goals, which would be about scoring in about half the games. That was my goal coming in. And then once I surpassed that, I was like, oh my goodness, like crazy, crazy.
Yeah. And just a lot of things like you transforming your game as a goal scorer to be the division's top goal scorer, jumping to that next level, obviously with your production. But do you think that obviously you guys struggled near the start of the season and for parts of the season in the zone, but it definitely picked up? Would you say that maybe a big part of your success was maybe you becoming more of a two-way player?
Yeah, I would say that us being able to get out of our zone quickly on my line, and we're really able to focus more on offense once we were able to get out of our own end, which was first priority all the time. But I would say that without getting out of our zone, obviously, we're going to have no offensive time, and that would have really stunted my points. So being focused on the defensive end allowed us to play most of our shifts in the offensive end.
Yeah, and it seems like you guys were doing the little things right. Of course, you on a line with Ben Zander and Tyler Rubini, one of the best lines in the league. Was it kind of did it take some time for you guys to click, or was it kind of that instant connection that you saw and knew that okay, we're a line that teams are gonna have to fear?
Yeah, I think it was a mixture of just clicking, and also I had previous. I find that me and Tyler play really well together. Having played, we both played minor bantam, bantam. Actually, we had played minor peewee, peewee, minor bantam, bantam. We basically played together every year of hockey. But in minor bantam and bantam, we were on the same line, pretty much in the same role. So I think that we had a previous chemistry coming into that season, and then putting Ben Zander, who just works crazy hard, has finishing ability, playmaking ability. It just brought us together even tighter as a group of three and allowed us to put up those points.
Yeah, definitely. Like you being able to spend 2 years prior to playing with Dakota, playing on the same line as Tyler, you guys really getting to know what works in your game and what doesn't really benefited you guys in your season last year. But we're going to move into how the season kind of unfolded. And you guys started off pretty poorly. 4-game losing streak from October 22nd to October 31st. And you didn't play in these first 3 games. But I mean, the team wasn't terrible. 2 1-goal losses, a 6-2 loss versus Garden City, and a shootout loss to Oak Park in that 4th game. Just averaging 4 goals against to start off, averaging just about 2 goals for to start. Just why do you think there was such a slow start for this Dakota Lancers team?
I don't know if the guys were really ready for that season to start it off. We didn't. The guys were thinking that we were going to be a good team going in with our heads high right off the bat. We got so many returning guys. We're like all grade 11s and 12s except for Brock, a grade 9. So I think they thought we were just going to roll over those first couple teams. And then it was a real eye opener when we were losing to start the season.
And for you coming in playing your first game, it was in that shootout loss. Just how did it feel really getting back onto the ice?
Yeah, it was. I wouldn't say I was 100% in that game. I was kind of thrown back into the lineup, hoping that we could pull out a win in that game because our coach Ray really did not want to go 0-4 to start the season. But it was great to get back in there. Obviously, you don't want to lose, but securing a point against an Oak Park team who ended up being very good in that league was good to start the season off.
And what were you dealing with that made you miss those 3 games to
It was
start
a
off?
shoulder injury.
Shoulder injuries. So, yeah, shoulder injuries, man, they're tough. They're tough. My shoulder's still not 100%, and it sucks because it could really stifle your game. And it's nice to know that you really got back to it pretty quickly and had the season that you're able to have. And you guys started turning things around a bit after starting the season off with 4 losses. You went 4-1 in the next 5 games from November 6th to November 18th. You had wins over Steinbach, Sturgeon Heights, Westwood, and Lord Selkirk, and you guys had a close game against a St. Paul's team that you ended up meeting in the final. Just, do you think that it was those 4 games might have been one of the best things to happen for you guys, getting that wake-up call so early on for you guys to kind of turn it around after that 4-game losing streak?
Yeah, like Sturgeon Heights and Westwood weren't top teams, so I think for us to just really, and even Steinbach didn't make the top half playoffs there, but at the end of the season. So I think for us to play those teams that we could really have a strong chance of winning against, that really helped us build some momentum rolling into the season.
Yeah, and of course you're playing these teams that aren't the strongest, but it's great for a team's confidence when you're able to go out there and really send a message that, okay, we are one of these top teams, and we're going to make it very hard on these teams that aren't as good as us, for sure. And yeah, the struggles started again. You went 2-4 from November 20th to December 17th. You won against Sturgeon Heights and Shaftesbury, but you lost to Shaftesbury, J.H. Bruns, and River East twice. And River East, of course, had a phenomenal season. Yeah, you actually ended up playing them in the first round as they finished second in the league. But your worst loss of the year did come to River East in the last game before the break, 6-0. So after a loss like that, I'm sure that you boys weren't very happy. Didn't leave a very good taste in your mouth. But what was the atmosphere like in the dressing room after a game like that?
Yeah, it was low. I think I'm pretty sure it was a back-to-back we had played them, or maybe one game in between. But we had lost twice in the last couple of games to River East. They were like 14-0. We were maybe 500 at that time. So I think it was just we were so down on ourselves. Like, we have a good team. Why aren't we winning? Like, and I think it allowed us to really turn it around because guys were going to the ODR and all that stuff over the Christmas holidays.
And was there a message from Ray after that loss you guys had that really put things into perspective for you guys, or was it really the leadership group on the team really taking things into their own hands and saying, guys, we know we're a good team. We know we can play with these top teams. We just got to put it together and put in that work off the ice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ray said something about that's not our hockey that we were playing out there. That's not even close to as good as we can play. And he said a really good speech that allowed us to leave the rink with our heads a bit higher than what they would be after a 6-0 loss.
And yeah, I think that whatever was said in the dressing room, what Ray said, the work that you guys put in was pretty awesome because you guys ended up playing your best stretch of hockey after that break, going 5-1, 2-1 from January 14th to February 13th. You started the new year with a 5-4 loss to Vincent Massey, but in overtime. But after that, you went on a 6-game win streak, biggest win of the year against St. Paul's, 3-1, and you guys played a pretty tough game, made it tough on Garden City, who ended up finishing first in the league, losing to them 4-2. And you guys also had a very important win, maybe your most important win of the season against Lord Selkirk in a 4-3 overtime win. So just after that break, you played a great stretch of hockey for yourself individually, and things really started to click for this Dakota team. So what do you think really started that run that you guys went on, winning as many games as you guys did? Do you think that it was just all of the all of the frustrations that you guys really let out on these teams after knowing that you guys were underachieving and knowing that, hey, we got to put the hammer down here?
Yeah, I think that we came together as a group and just mentally decided that we weren't a bottom half team and that we needed to win majority of these second half games to make it into that A side playoffs. And so we put our heads down, we worked super hard in practice and in games, and I think the results showed.
Yeah, and you guys able to make it into that final spot to play in that top half of the A division playoffs. You guys coming in playing the best stretch of hockey that you guys played all season. You and Tyler Rubini came in both top 5 in points, and you started off against a River East team who finished second ranked. Came in 0-2 against them on the regular season, but the last time you guys played them was before the great stretch of hockey that you guys did have. And even though they had one of the top goaltenders in Ike Pled, who posted a 1.69 goals against average, going up against a top 3-point producer in Carson Wojtowicz, I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that right, who posted 40 points in 24 games played, led the league in assists. Guys like Chase Sobey, Owen Unro, and Kalen Odie. I mean, this was a heavily favored team, but do you think that was your guys' confidence coming in, knowing that you were able to beat some great teams, stay in close games with a team like Garden City? Do you think that was that confidence that really carried over into that first round matchup that allowed you guys to win that series?
Yeah, for sure. Having such like River East was 14-0, I'm pretty sure, at the Christmas break. We were 500. In the second half, they ended up losing a handful of games. We only lost a couple games. And I think we were on our way up and they were kind of plateauing. So I think that our motivation was just higher than theirs were in that series, and which allowed us to roll right over them in 2 games.
Yeah, and it was domination from you guys in that second game, but the first game was a close 5-4 win, and you guys were playing in their barn, playing up, playing against a packed crowd, I'm assuming, and I'm sure that they were very confident. I'm sure that they wanted to prove a lot of people wrong by proving that they could beat a team like you guys, but you guys went in there and got a close 5-4 win to start things off. Just take me back to that game and how you guys were able to pull that off to really start the series in the right direction for you guys.
Yeah, I think it was a team win. Although my line did have all the goals, I think the other lines did their responsibility and kept the puck out of the net while they were on the ice. So I think it was just a great team win, and it really solidified ourselves as not being the seventh seed, as being a potential top 3 team in the league, beating the second place team.
And you guys went into a game where it's the hardest game to win in a playoff series, trying to close it out. You guys are up one, and all the pressure shifted to you guys all of a sudden. How did you feel that you guys dealt with the pressure of going into that game and finishing it off against this number 2 ranked team? Or did you guys feel any pressure at all?
I think our coach prepared us very well for that. He said, this is going to be a grinding game. We're not going to score 5 goals like we did the game before, and we need to focus on defense. If they don't score, we make our chances a lot better to win this game. And that's what we did. We played unreal defensively. Ty Harbottle played a great game in net, and we got the shutout to win.
And after taking down a team that dominated you guys in the season, being able to continue and move on this underdog story journey, just how did it feel in the dressing room after that game, knowing that you guys were moving on to play the number 1 seed in Garden City and having the chance to do it all over again?
Yeah, it was a great feeling knowing that we aren't the seventh. We weren't the 7th ranked team going into that playoffs, and that we proved ourselves in that first series, and it just was great. We were so happy the rink was just going crazy at that final buzzer when we finished them off in game 2, and it was just a great experience.
Going into the semifinals, going up against another legitimate powerhouse in Garden City, who you lost twice to them, 6-2 near the start of the season, but then a close game on February 7th, where you guys lost 4-2, as mentioned before, preparing for another powerhouse, a team with loads of talent. Was the message from Coach Ray and the mindset you guys had the same going into that series?
Yeah, for sure. It was that we need to be just working as hard as we can every shift, because they did have super talented players up front and on the back end that we needed to be able to match up against.
So you guys started off that series losing the game 4-1. Obviously, you guys' backs against the wall, but do you guys, did it phase you guys at all, knowing that?
I don't think we were phased at all by the loss in game 1. Coming in so high as we were from that River East series, I would say that that was just like us coming back to reality, being we're not the best team and we need to work as hard as we can to be the best team if we want to be that team. So knowing that we can lose, even when we're playing our best, we can still lose. That really just motivated us to play better in that second game.
And you guys really did make a statement in that second game, basically telling them that you guys aren't going down without a fight. Winning that game 4-1, you guys kind of shifted. Well, you guys did shift the momentum in that series. I'd say, looking at the third game, where you guys ended up winning that game 2-1 in a close one. But starting off with that game 2 win, just seems like everything went right for you guys. Just what were the biggest aspects of you guys being able to win that game and to tie up the series?
I would say the one goal against was the best part about that game. We played another great defensive game, letting in only one goal against the top scorer in the league that year. It was just great to be able to play that well in the defensive end. And then also putting up 4 goals was just a great display offensively as well.
Going into game 3 on the road, everything on the line. You guys have a chance to go to the finals. Just what was it like the night before of that game, just really getting prepared and getting into the mindset to be able to once again shock the Winnipeg high school hockey world and potentially move on to a final series?
Yeah, that night before, I was definitely nervous. You wake up, you got to put on your suit because playing high school hockey, we wear the suits to school on game days. So you wake up, you got to put on a suit, you got to sit through a whole day of classes, uncomfortable in the suit, shaking about how important this game is going to be that night. And it's just, there was so much nerves going in there. And then for us to play the way we did in that game it was unbelievable.
Yeah, and you guys win that game 2-1. You're on to the finals. And just what was that like going into their house, beating the number 1 team in the league and sending yourselves to the finals to eventually face off against the St. Paul's Crusaders?
Yeah, it was crazy. We had about, I would say, 30 people come into our dressing room after that game 3 win, and we were just going crazy, music blasting, everyone's going crazy, because it just doesn't happen. You don't get to the finals as a 7th seed. So
Yeah.
it was just great.
And you guys, in your final series, in the championship series, went up against the St. Paul's Crusaders. And I'm assuming, just knowing who St. Paul's is, knowing how, if you don't go to St. Paul's, you basically despise St. Paul's and just their resume. 15 championships for St. Paul's coming into that series. Going up against a team that was top 5 in least goals given up in the league, who was a great defensive team, but you guys were playing your best defensive hockey of the year at this point. But just moving back to that point about this is St. Paul's, I'm sure that you guys were extra motivated to come out and beat this team.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the whole league was cheering for us in that series
Yeah.
because of how just something about those St. Paul's guys winning all the time. Just no one really likes them. So we had almost the whole rest of the league behind us, and that really helped us play our best in that series.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I know some great people from St. Paul's, but when it comes to sports, they're the team that is on I think everyone's list of you beat St. Paul's. It might be the biggest W of your high school sports life. But we're gonna move into that first game. You guys opened up with a perfect 4-1 win to set the tone of that series. Just take me back to that game and how you guys were able to come out and execute so perfectly.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it any better. It was perfect from us. I think we scored 3 goals in the first period, chased the goalie, and I think it was just like a perfect game. Just something that Coach Augustino couldn't have even thought about us being able to do in that game 1 of the series.
Yeah, and to be able to set the tone like you guys did against St. Paul's, obviously putting them on the ropes very early, and you guys were one step closer to winning the championship. But St. Paul's came out in that second game and won 3-1. A close game. Was that the type of game where they were the better team, you thought, or was it a close game? What do you say in terms of the number of chances that were put out?
Yeah, I think we just thought they were going to roll over and give it to us, and obviously they didn't. And I think that they just played better than us that game. They were playing harder. Their backs were the ones on the ropes and not ours. So they were playing harder than us.
Yeah, and it set up a game three championship series game where it was winner take all going up against a team in St. Paul's where, I feel like a lot of the pressure was on them because they were the favorite team coming in. But you guys played in front of a packed crowd. I remember some of my friends were there watching, and they were taking videos and stuff, and it was a packed house. And you guys ended up losing that game in a shootout, and just a heartbreaker for you guys losing that game in a shootout. Just take me through that game and just all the ups and downs and how it came to be a 2-1 shootout loss for the Dakota Lancers.
Yeah, it was battled defensively through all of the regular time. We had I think they scored in maybe the start of the third period, and it had been a 0-0 game. They scored. It was like, oh, come on. But we had chances, so we weren't like too down on ourselves. And then we were pressuring them with about a minute left. Goalie pulled, and then with I think 7 seconds left, Levi Colliander scored and tied it up for us, which was just insane to be a part of that. And like the video of us, just the fans going crazy. That was almost like the best part about that game was scoring that goal late to tie it up in the finals, and it was unbelievable.
And yeah, to be able to tie it up with the amount of time that you guys had to do that, you guys not being able to find an answer in overtime, that game going to a shootout. I mean, just devastating is the word that comes to mind. Losing this game when you're so close and basically a skills competition.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we would have fared a bit. I thought we had the advantage going into that shootout, and then on my turn to shoot, broke my stick. So that is just, it was awful. I still have nightmares about that. I want to sue CCM over that.
Yeah.
But breaking a stick in a shootout, especially after the season I had, was probably the worst way to end it.
Yeah. Yeah. And CCM, better be sending you an apology, because that is the worst way to really end your season individually, for sure, just breaking your stick like that. But I mean, devastating loss for you guys, but I'm assuming just a huge amount of pride knowing that you guys were able to make it as far as you did when really no one in the league really expected you guys to do it. Just how can you, if there's one word you can use to describe the playoff run that you guys had, what would it be?
One word. I would say it was just like unbelievable, like or unimaginable, I guess. Like you never would. We didn't even think that we would be in the finals that year. Like, and then for us to do it, it was crazy, and it was the best year of hockey I've ever had.
Is that playoff run probably maybe one of your, if not your favorite? I know that you talked about how your favorite moment and one of your favorite moments in hockey up until this point was scoring that hat trick back in Minor Peewee in your first game as a Vic. But would you say that this playoff run might have topped that?
Yeah, I would say from a team and just completion as like a group of guys and the milestones we were able to complete during that season, I think that was the best team I've ever been on and the most fun I've had with a team.
You had a sensational playoff run for yourself individually in terms of your stat line. 8 games played, 8 goals, 6 assists, 14 points, and 4 penalty minutes. And it seemed like when the moment got bigger, you rise to the occasion. What would you say went into you being able to have a playoff run that you were able to have on the score sheet?
Yeah, I just think that I was really able to step up and continue what I was doing to like prove myself as deserving of all those points I got in the regular season. Not that they were just some fluke. That I was actually one of the best scorers and offensive players in the league that year.
And just for you to be able to, obviously in the regular season, be a player that your coaches and teammates could count on, but to be that player, that same player at an even higher level in the playoffs that your coaches and teammates could count on. How special is that for you knowing that you were able to be so clutch in these playoffs?
Yeah, it was. It's a great feeling having the guys look up to you, and when the coach says, "Yeah, we need to get a goal," all the guys are looking at you, and it's like, "Oh my goodness!" Like they all expect so much, so it's just a great feeling to be able to deliver in those key situations.
And not only did you have an amazing playoff run, an amazing season for yourself individually, and just what this team went through, but you finish it off winning Dakota Male Athlete of the Year. And I just want to know just how you first off found out about you winning that award.
Yeah, they due to COVID, we weren't in school, so I was actually just at work, and then I saw that they started posting grade 9 girls, 9 boys, 10 girls, 10 boys, and then the 11s came up, and I started watching it, and then they mentioned he had the most storied season in our school's history in hockey, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is gonna be me. So it was just an unreal feeling to be just at work and then to have something that crazy happen.
And lots of great athletes in this school. It's a school that produces some championship teams. And just for you to be able to win this award as a grade 11 with all the great athletes in your grade and just all the great athletes in the school, do you think that makes it even more special?
Yeah, it's a great accomplishment. And I think I was it's a reason for you to be a multi-sport athlete. Even though I didn't perform or do as much in volleyball as I had in hockey, I think it was great.
How did winning this award feel different compared to the team achievements that you've won in the past and stuff like that in terms of winning a championship in volleyball as in you winning this award for yourself individually?
I think it was just like a pat on the back. Like I've worked hard to do everything that I've done in sports, and it's a big reward for what I've done.
Last question before we let you go here. It's been a pretty long interview, but I'm going to leave you with this one. In terms of hockey, just the great years you spent here with Dakota in these 2 years, making it to the finals in your grade 11 year. Obviously, you guys didn't get to go back to the final or have a chance to go back to the finals this year due to COVID-19 canceling the season. Just the memories you made, the bonds you made with teammates, and just learning from coaches like Ray Augustino, and just the big moments that you played in. How do you sum up your career as a Dakota Lancer hockey player?
I'm just thankful for everyone that helped me, coaching staff helped me get to where I was, and the teammates I was able to play with over my seasons with Dakota.
And that's going to do it for today's edition of Coffee with Graeme. Special thanks to Ryland Nechwediuk for joining me on today's episode. Special thanks to all of the viewers, I'm pointing at you, the viewer, for tuning in to today's edition of Coffee with Graeme. And also a special thanks to all of our sponsors for sponsoring today's installment of the show. I'll be back here on the network on Thursday at 10:30 a.m. for the return of MFHL season coverage on Coffee with Graeme. I'll be joined by two players from the MFHL in that episode: forward for the Winnipeg Ice, Martina Barclay, and defenseman for the Yellowhead Chiefs, Louise Ferguson. It's all on Amateur Sports TV. You can check us out on Facebook and YouTube, or simply visit our website at www.amateursports.tv to follow along with Thursday's coverage, along with all the other great content we got here on the Amateur Sports TV network. Until next time, I've been your host of Coffee with Graeme, Graeme Forsyth, signing off. Have a good one, folks. Stay safe out there, and until next time, I'll see you then.